So Torchlight Infinite is on the horizon and is probably one of my favorite ARPGs to play on mobile right now as we speak. But there begs a question. After Diablo Immortal had its first month with almost $50 million or something that I read, a lot of questions are now pointing at Torchlight Infinite, which is being the next ARPG, something that is similar to Diablo, the Diablo series really. Will Torchlight Infinite be the next game to fall under that monetization pit? Now, for me, who have played both closed beta tests, the two major beta tests, I honestly feel like Torchlight Infinite will do a lot better and perform a lot better when it comes to monetization and just endless amounts of fun to play and not really going to be digging in too much into players' pockets. So in today's video, I want to be able to talk about how Torchlight Infinite is trying to avoid the same route Diablo Immortal. We do have an article that we have for you guys, and we also have pre-registration also coming for open beta that is dropping in October to basically help launch Torchlight Infinite, as well as they do have a brand new class. So we do have an article that I want to tell you guys about, which is actually producer Liu Heng, which he basically answers a couple of questions about Torchlight Infinite's monetization, how the seasons work, and what he thinks of behind the negative fan reception to Diablo Immortal. So as some of you do know, Torchlight Infinite will be dropping free to play as a mobile ARPG. It's releasing into open beta this fall. And of course, like I said, you get a brand new playable character. And if you guys want to check out my playlist that I have of Torchlight Infinite, I will actually leave in it my entire playlist of Torchlight Infinite videos on my channel. It should be in the top right hand corner. But as anybody know, Blizzard released Diablo Immortal, which is basically a mobile game, but they decided to put it on PC, and the Diablo franchise itself has been primarily a PC game. They did make Diablo 3, The Reaper of Souls, into PS4, but through and through, Diablo, the series, has been a PC game. So they decided to turn Diablo Immortal into a mobile-based game. But after a lot of backlash, which basically is one of the more funnier things that I've heard as a defensive mechanism from developers of like, don't you guys have phones? Anybody who remembers that iconic situation, definitely let me know in the comment section below. But they turned it into a mobile game, and they wanted to be primarily mobile. Now, that didn't really sit well with the Diablo series and Diablo community, Diablo community, and a lot of people just was not dealing with that. It felt like it was a slap in the face to the PC fan base, because the whole point of Diablo Immortal is to reach the mobile side of things and make it more easier or accessible for newer players to get into the Diablo world, the Diablo series, and just open up the gateways. Torchlight Infinite kind of follows that same path. Torchlight Infinite, well, the Torchlight series was a PC-based game. Now it is coming to mobile. But they want to do it completely different, revamp the whole thing, and not make it too much of a copy and paste and make it feel horrible. So Torchlight will be on mobile, and if I believe they are trying to do a PC variant of it, but they want to do it a lot better. For anybody who's a fan of Torchlight, this game does take place 200 years after Torchlight 2, and of course it will have the familiar abilities, classes, and environments that fans of the franchise, and of course newer characters listed for fans to discover. So let's actually get into the main talk that Liu Heng had, which we have the article, which is cited by Gamespot. So thanks for Gamespot for definitely having this article. They had an interview, Liu Heng had an interview with Gamespot, the Torchlight Infinite, which basically he said that this game will allow cross progression, where players can be able to link the data from one account, and you can jump between mobile and PC without losing progression, which is immediately a good thing. So at any time, well, you can grind on the go. Granted, this is something you will see in Diablo Immortal. Diablo Immortal had the same thing. But what I feel like what was wrong with Diablo Immortal is that the game was primarily a mobile game, and they ported it to PC. making it not so good. The problem that I have with that is just it feels very weird on PC. Like, you can definitely tell this game is a mobile game. And to be able to counteract two different systems, the PC variant of Torchlight Infinite will also feature a few additional upgrades beyond the mobile version, including more camera options, wider views, and additional control options. So, of course, anybody who knows any free-to-play game, how do the developers make money? So this is where the big deal breaker between Torchlight Infinite versus Diablo Immortal. So Heng basically explained that the purchases in Torchlight Infinite are broken down into two categories. Features like more backspace, talent resets, auto-looting functionality will be what Heng described as you pay for convenience instead of a pay-to-win structure. New heroes as well as various cosmetics will also be available for purchase and fall under what Heng is you pay for content. Torchlight will not sell gear or crafting materials for real money, Heng said. Those items will be strictly grind to get to ensure a fair experience for all players. Heng also made it clear that Torchlight Infinite won't have any stamina meters or systems that will limit a player's progression either. Instead, players will have the freedom to start and end their grinds at their own will. Now, of course, this is a major thing. So, pay for convenience and you pay for content. So instead of it being a pay to win structure or Diablo Immortal's fully pay to win because there is a PvP system in Diablo Immortal, and anybody who spends enough money to be able to get the best stuff possible, you could be able to dominate. You could probably pull up tens of hundreds of thousands of probably YouTube videos of whales dominating on the PvP front of Diablo Immortal. Now, for more backspace, talent resets, and auto-looting, that is actually something that is actually pretty decent and not bad. You're paying for conveniency. If you need more backspace and you're just like, do I want to grind it out or am I fine with that? Do I need to really pay the extra $2 or whatever the pay structure will be to get more backspace? That's fine. It's not a pay to win structure or something that actually excels you later. It's just carrying more stuff. Talent resets. If you want to just completely do a brand new build and say you already have whatever points you do have and you already ran out of those, hey, all right, I'll drop the $2 to $3 just to get a quick rebuild. That's perfectly fine, and any auto-looting functionality it's just all convenience. Now, cosmetics is going to be the major thing for the heroes. Now, I don't know will any further new heroes down the line because pretty much your starting heroes are all free. Whatever class you want, that's what you could play as, but cosmetics for said hero, you could pay for that as well, or there should be some way to be able to get that for free, probably a little bit of grind, but everything else is grinding. During the closed beta test, haven't seen too much of the cosmetical features or anything of that nature since it was just a beta. So right now, every loot that you're able to get, every single anything is grind. You have to grind for it. So now let's talk a little bit further into the interview. They say Diablo Immortal, which Torchlight Infinite will likely be compared to, was heavily criticized at launch for its pay-to-win mechanics. Now, like I said earlier in the video, anybody who knows what Diablo Immortal is will have an understanding that this game was heavily monetized. There's a lot of shady things that were being done in the cash shop to make people want to pay more. There's a YouTuber who paid $100,000, $10,000 just to play this game. So it went from a free-to-play PC and mobile experience to he spent almost six figures in the time span of Diablo Immortal being out. That is an insane amount of revenue, really. That's an insane amount of money just for a free-to-play game. But in order to get anywhere in that game, it's really difficult really to do so. It's going to be a grind. Like, in order to get to the point where he's at without spending money, if you were a free-to-player, it would take you months or years just to get to the same amount that he's got within the first month of playing the game of just spending money. But more recently, players have complained about how Diablo Immortal's MMO structure punishes solo players, with many unable to find the additional players required to complete the dungeons or raids essential to progression. When asked what lessons XD Inc. has learned from Diablo Immortal's launch, Heng didn't mention the game's controversial microtransactions, but instead said many of Diablo Immortal's issues came from a failure to properly manage players' expectations. Quote, from their perspective, the public was more unhappy about the expectation of how Diablo Immortal was presented as an ARPG game, but instead was released as an ARPG MMO. Anybody who knows Diablo series will have a decent understanding. People will have a better understanding that Diablo is a ARPG. That is all it is. Action role-playing game with a isometric camera view. That is it. But they try to mix the both elements of an MMORPG and an ARPG and put it together. The issue is Diablo was never like that. You're trying to build on a structure, a fundamental structure, a foundation of two different things. It's either you pick one or the other. Nothing more. So Heng also said that the Diablo Immortal's progression system and builds options are much more narrow than Diablo 3 as a result, and that could have misled players looking for a traditional Diablo experience. Granted, that was probably one of the more experienced. I've seen a lot of people that play Diablo. They said this was a Diablo 3.5, a more soft launch to Diablo 4, since we don't know when we'll be getting that. And of course, if the game didn't use the Diablo IP, its performance might have vastly been different in our opinion, which is, I honestly agree the most. If it didn't say Diablo on that, and it was based off of another game, that game would have tanked immediately. But the fact that it is using Diablo's IP, the same Diablo world, the same Diablo structure is what bringing people into it. Diablo series is one of those ARPGs that is very addicting as is, dating all the way back to Diablo 1 and Diablo 2, which is probably the most fan favorite because I know a lot of people are not too happy with Diablo 3. Heng also said the team from the very beginning of development has made it clear that Torchlight Infinite is strictly a loot-based ARPG, one with a huge number of possible builds thanks to the game's various systems like hero traits, talent, skills, and gear fixes. You guys want to see any first impressions about Torchlight Infinite, then definitely go check out my videos. I will have a link in the comment section below, but I will leave the cards in the card at the end of the video as well about how this game works, the different builds that I've came across. I love this game. Mobile game comes with the expectation of regular content updates, and Heng said that Torchlight Infinite will introduce new seasonal expansions every 3 months. Seasons will introduce new gameplay mechanics. Heng's teased that XD has a line of new heroes awaiting to be added to the game's character roster as well. Unlike the previous Torchlight games, players will be playing as specific characters rather than a generic class. Torchlight Infinite, for example, includes the Berserker character, but it won't be exactly the same as the Berserker from Torchlight 2. That's because this Berserker is their own unique character, Rihan, who has their own backstory and unique traits compared to the Torchlight 2 version of the same class. As well as a huge part of Torchlight Infinite is the game's skill system, which features over 230 shared skills across each of the game's 6 heroes that can be modified with various support skills. This makes for a huge number of customization options, especially when combined with Torchlight Infinite's talent system and the actual bonuses of equipped gear. Players will be able to trade and sell gear with one another using what Heng described as duty-free and player-made economy. Which, of course, like I said, this game will enter open beta this October with a specific date yet to be announced. You can definitely pre-register for the beta on iOS devices right now. And what is today's takeaway between Torchlight Infinite versus Diablo Immortal? Honestly, Torchlight Infinite has learned and seen what Diablo Immortal has to offer, and they plan on making this the best experience for players that just wants to grind, get that dopamine levels going because of how much loot there is. If you like to build 50,000 different builds, you have it there. This is honestly something to be very happy about, and if you guys look for a new ARPG, you're not too happy about Diablo Immortal's monetization problems, then Torchlight Infinite is something to do. If you guys want to check out the open beta, please do. If you need to do a little bit more research about this game, definitely check out my videos. I have them. I have a lot of them. I have all the first impressions from both the first closed beta 1 and closed beta 2. And if you guys enjoy that, definitely hit the like button and definitely hit the subscribe button if you guys want to check out more about Torchlight Infinite. And as always, it's been your host, KSDTV, here at Chaotic Inc., signing out. Peace.
Manifest. I don't sleep, that's so weak, don't plan to rest. I'm from a hood where you die if you don't pack a vest. No culinary degrees, but whipping crack the best. Chefing, hard times taught lessons. Praying every night to pull up in park Benzes. What's my home is what you call trenches. You wouldn't last a day seeing life through all lenses. It's all tension, no sun, and rain and plenty. Full-time job, still can never make a penny. I ain't